how's it? Jordan here. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make a simple 3D player controller that follows your mouse. It has colliders, it uses a rigid body system. It doesn't have jumping, but that's obviously quite easy to add. It's all physical based. Right, so it's only one script, so it's quite simple, and yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So I'm just going to make a little player object. So player, and the player is going to, and I've got all the properties. You can obviously use your own player. I'm just going to make a simple template player. Then I'm going to make a cube, and the cube is going to, just wait for Unity to load. It's going to be 0.3, 0.3 and 0.5, and this is going to be the cube that shows where the player is facing. And there's going to be a very specific position I've got. Okay, and then we're going to add a cylinder. And the cylinder, we're just going to scale it down a bit. So it's going to be 0.5, 0.5, and there we have a little player character. I know, it looks amazing, hey? Wow. But very detailed, AAA game design. But anyway, what we're going to do is on the player, I'm going to add a rigid body, and I'm going to add a player controller, right? And this will move the player, that's the part we'll be coding. And then I'm going to make a floor plane, and make a plane there. I move it position 0, 0, 0. And I'm going to scale it to 10. So this, you don't actually have to make this. This will be a game world. Then I'm going to make another plane. This is going to be an invisible one. So it's going to be called the look plane. So this is, so essentially what we do is we shoot a raycast from the camera to a position, and then the player just moves towards that position. And obviously using W and S keys to move forward and backwards. Now, so what you've got to do is you've got to make this your game world. All you have to do is have a mesh collider, or any colliders you want, and all you have to do is add a new layer and call it the look. I think I had a name for it. Let's just call it look plane. So this is going to be the part that the raycast actually hits. So it will be invisible, but this will be any object you want the raycast to hit. So you're going to name it look plane, and obviously you can choose a different name from that. And we're going to open the, actually let's just position the camera a bit better, because the camera is not in a good spot. So let's move it there, and I'm going to I've got a very specific position. So for the camera that has a nice isometric view, and as you see now we have a nice little player controller scene. I'm going to make a material, so there's the floor, and I can make this a slightly different color just so you can see the player a bit better. And we have an amazing looking grass, I guess. And this is physics based, so it does have a rigid body, and you will be able to collide with stuff. It won't go through objects, which is nice. Right, then I'm going to open the player controller up. So I'm using Rider, but of course you can use any IDE you want. I'm going to delete all the functions and add a private rigid body, RB, and hopefully Rider will give me some auto correction after it's finished loading everything. Okay, it's finally finished processing, so you can add an awake function, and RB is equal to get component rigid body. So we're just getting the rigid body, so you don't have to drag it in. Then I'm going to have cam, which is our camera. This is where you're going to shoot the rays from. And cam is equal to camera.main. Then we're going to have a update. And this is where we're going to get inputs. So, and then for fixed updates, I'm going to use the physics, where I calculate physics and move it with velocity. So I'm going to have a private float move input. And the reason why it's not a vector2 is because I don't actually have input A and D keys. You can input it with very little modification, but it doesn't make sense with a follow mouse system. So I'm just going to leave it to float. So in update, we're going to set move input to just the simple get axis vertical. And obviously, ideally, you'd want to update it to use the new input system, since the old input system isn't very good anymore. So we're going to do handle rotation. That's going to be a function I'm going to make. So we're going to use void handle rotation. And there's going to be a private function, handle rotation. And this is where we shoot the rays and everything. So I'm going to go if camera is equal to null, then we return it. And then we're going to make a ray. So there's going to be ray is equal to screen point to ray, which is going to convert the ray to proper screen point position. Okay, so, and this is, so it's going to shoot from the camera the ray. And then and what actually cool feature I found out is you can reuse these rays. I never knew that, but if you have, say, I'm making a little game where it has this exact follow mouse system, and what I'm doing is when you click on an object to interact with it, I'm using this exact ray, so you can kind of reuse rays. I never knew that. But yeah, obviously you need a different ray for every position it comes from. Right, then physics.ray, it had it, oh dear. Physics.ray, okay, it shoots the ray, and it's going to shoot to mathf.infinity. You can set a clamp on it, but I'm not going to. And we're going to do look plane layer. So the look plane layer is just going to be look plane, so I'm going to make it a public. Look, I'm not actually having jump in this, but you can have jump if you want. But I'm just going to add a layer mask. And that is it. And then I make it. Add the body of the if statement. And it's going to be a vector3 direction. I guess look direction is fine. So look direction.y is equal to 0. This is because we don't want the player to look down towards the floor. We want it to only look at the x and I think it's x and z axis, yes. So if, then we're going to check if the direction, so check if we actually moving the mouse at all, because otherwise it doesn't need to change its position, rotation. So we're going to go look direction dot square magnitude, okay, is less than, we can do 0.1f, that's fine. By the way, if you don't know, the f at the end means it's a float. So then we're going to have quaternion. This is going to be the target rotation. And transform dot rotation. Good gracious, it's auto completing everything for me. I do really like Rider, very good IDE. Anyway, if we target rotation, we're going to do rotation speed. So it almost had it. We're just going to add a float. I guess we can keep move speed, and I'm going to have another one rotation speed. Rotation speed, and we're just going to multiply it by that. There we go, and then I think that is it for the handle rotation. Right, then I'm going to add the actual fixed update part where it's actually going to move the player. So fixed update, vector3, movement. I guess we can do movement, that's fine. And it's going to be transform dots forward times by move input times by move speed, and not times by time dot delta time. We don't need to do that. Then we're going to get the rigid body dot linear velocity. It used to only be velocity, but obviously they changed it. Is equal to vector3, and the reason why we're not just putting in movement is because movement makes y 0, because so if we jump or something, it won't or never fall down, which is a bit of a problem. So we're not actually going to worry about that now, but in case you do want to add jumping, this will make sure it can fall down cliffs and such. And it's just going to be rb.linear velocity. There we go. And I'm pretty sure that is all. Well, we'll see if I've forgotten anything. So I'll make move speed 4, make rotation speed 5, and look plane as the look plane layer. And I'm just going to add a couple cubes, something we can bump into. 0, 0, and there, and there, and there, and there, and there. And if we run it, is it going? Oh, okay, it didn't quite work, did it? Okay, so I think the problem with that is, if we go constraints, we must freeze the rotation. I'm pretty sure we freeze all rotation. And if we run it, will this work? It seems rotation doesn't quite work, so that's a bit of a problem. Okay, that's using, so let's just check the code. Okay, and it's going to be in handle rotation somewhere, so let me just see if I've forgotten something. Right, and I will be back when I figured out what is wrong. Oh, I just figured out what it was. Okay, so it must be greater. The square magnitude must be greater, not smaller. Let's just make that a smaller number. Right, so now let's start. Alright, and if we just press play, hopefully, yes. And before I had slurp, which is quite a funny name, but all it does is it just smooths it out. So before I had slurp, it would do crazy, insane amounts of flickering if I did this, because it would immediately flip, and it just looked awful. But if we just move him over there, move our mouse there, he will move. Now clicking the W key, S key, he will rotate. It's a bit weird-esque reversing, but it works. Kind of like he's running away from the mouse cursor. But yeah, he can bump into stuff, and he can't move off. He can't move through it. And obviously jump is like one line of code, or a couple lines of code, so it's quite easy. So I'm not going to show how to hook up the new input system with this, because it's just I want to keep it quite short and simple. And obviously if we do move here, he will spin around. And what's interesting is what's cool is if you make the rotation speed 10, let's say, so it will spin faster, and obviously 1 it will spin quite slowly, but it'll do a bigger circle, quite a very big circle actually, and the problem is obviously is that it takes forever to rotate around. Sure, I didn't want this to be a terribly long or complex video. I just want it to be nice and short. So yeah, we just have a simple little player controller that follows the mouse around. Oh well, I hope you enjoyed this quick little tutorial, and I'll see you in the next video. If you have any suggestions, then please comment them down below. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!